Oh, hi. My name is Matthew Neves from the Real Talk Podcast. You might be wondering what this skit is now. We've been doing it every week. Well, I just wanted to announce that we do not alter any of our episodes. It's one take, and we do it in like 30 minutes. It's great. It's the director's vision. Hey, Nathan from the Real Talk Podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, Matthew from the Real Talk Podcast. What the fuck are you talking about? Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast, episode 145. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Neves, to my left.
Thank you.
Today, we are going to be discussing special editions and director's cuts.
Yeah. I feel like they're both the same, but they kind of aren't. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think they kind of are. It's just like two ways to say
it, yeah.
different. They're the same thing.
Fair enough.
I guess, some special editions, I guess maybe it's not the director per se, like making all the choices and cutting it, but it's kind of the same thing.
It's kind of the same. I agree. I mean, like, we're going to get into some examples of director's cuts because there have been director's cuts since the dawn of cinema.
Yeah.
Especially since many directors get effed over by the studios, to say the least. Since the Orson Welles days of The Magnificent Ambersons, a great story of that where it was his film right after Citizen Kane, where he was working on it, and then the studio was like, all right, we want you to cut 30 minutes of it. And he's like, nope. And then when Orson Welles was out of the country, they did it. And literally that 30 minutes of footage is gone forever.
They just burned it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could just do that back in the day. There was no other. So yeah,
isn't that crazy?
It's fucked up.
Orson Welles' follow-up to Citizen Kane. They're just like, oh, we're running out of shelf space for this film.
It's like we don't this isn't what we wanted.
Let's just burn it.
Let's just burn it so that there's no fucking way you'll ever be able to release your version. Yeah.
That's the craziest thing
It's insane. It's messed up. And unfortunately, it has happened many times with filmmakers. Some have been given the chance to get their director's cuts out, which is more frequent now than it was before due to the fact that digital and film.
Yes.
So digital is more, people are able to salvage more, I guess you could say, depending on storage and whatnot. If we're going into technical terms, essentially, people are getting more chances at their director's cuts than they did back in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So
partially because of tech, but also I think the term director's cut has turned into like this, let's squeeze more money out of this kind of play.
Oh, yeah.
I think it maybe started purely as we want to see this director's vision, the way he wanted to put it out.
Yes.
But I feel like now and, in recent years, the term director's cut has just been like, here's another version to sell you a Blu-ray or...
Yeah. I feel like the Blade Runner Blu-rays have been like that. They've pumped out so many, even though the best one is the last one that they did.
Yeah.
Which I feel like at that point you should just release that.
So in my research, Blade Runner was one of the first, if not the first, one of the first films to coin director's cut.
Yeah.
And promote it that way.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is that the director did not do the director's cut. He had no involvement.
He had no involvement. That's the thing. People joke with like Zack Snyder being like the director's cut guy, but no, Ridley Scott was the first man. He was the one that like I could name 5 films from him, like Kingdom of Heaven, Blade Runner. He has director's cuts for fucking films that nobody even fucking remembers.
Yeah. So the first director's cut of Blade Runner was not cut by Ridley Scott, so it was not a director's cut. And then Ridley Scott finally got his chance to do a director's cut of Blade Runner afterwards. Yeah, with some kind of more minimal changes and some effects.
Was that the unicorn one? Like they added the unicorn scene, but
yeah, I think so. Okay. The one where he has the dream, right?
Yeah, the dream. Because that was not it. By the way, that was not in it at all. The unicorn stuff, the ending was not what The original ending was far more
And
different.
bro, the voiceover.
Oh, the voiceover is the worst part of the whole fucking movie. Yeah, and that was in the original cut.
Like, what the fuck was Harrison Ford doing recording that voiceover?
He hated it.
Like, I get it.
He fucking hated that. He's like, there's no way they'd keep this. And they did. And he's like, what?
It's literally sounds like the worst like video game dialogue from like a PlayStation 1 game.
They called me Blade Runner because I run on the blades. Yeah, that's what I said.
It's literally that enthusiastic. Like he
Yeah.
puts nothing behind it.
Fucking I mean, people talked about the reviews. It's like, well, Blade Runner got negative reviews upon its release. It's like, yeah, because of that cut.
Yeah.
It's not because of the final cut. There's no fucking way people would give a negative review of the final cut.
Yeah.
But it took so fucking long for that one to come out that it was just like, you know, I'm glad we're alive to see it. You know, it's hard, but it's like it's very hard to come by an official director's cut and not one that's just called the director's cut. Because, yeah, you could just lie.
Yeah.
Who's going to... I mean, we have social media now, so it's a little harder to lie when the director on Twitter is just like, yeah, no, that's not actually...
Before, it's like, who knew?
Yeah,
Who knew
exactly.
who was actually cutting it? Who knew who had the input and what the director really wanted, you know?
Exactly. But a few other examples of this, like another one, Coppola. Coppola has been so constant with his director's cuts.
Yeah.
Like, there is so many fucking cuts of The Godfather and the Godfather trilogy.
Yeah, they did, you know, like a made-for-TV cut where they switched up the order and things were chronological, and it was like a
New
fucking
scenes.
It was like like an 8-hour movie or some shit like that. I've never watched. Have you ever watched any funny cuts of Godfather? I never have. I do want to someday.
I remember not being aware of Coppola's director's cuts at all and seeing Godfather Part 2 on AMC. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna see parts of it. And then there's like a scene with like De Niro in it that was not in Godfather Part 2 at all for me.
Oh,
so I'm
really?
like, am I watching a new cut of this?
So the AMC just had like some extra scenes?
I think so.
But it was like chronologically still like the same and just
I only turned it on when it was
Oh,
at the
okay.
De Niro part, so I didn't watch it fully, but I just remember like a completely different scene.
there is a lot of scenes cut out because when I bought the DVD, it had some all the like bonus scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I watched all of them. There's like a De Niro scene where they introduce young Hyman Roth. That was cut.
Yeah.
There's like a lot
I heard
of,
about that, yeah.
There's a lot of interesting scenes that were cut.
But a lot of the cuts, like you said, like I don't know if that one's still yeah, a lot of them aren't Blu-ray.
No.
Like you can't get them anymore.
No, you can't get them. That's
yeah.
right.
So it depends on what your favorite cut is. It's like, oh, my favorite cut was the 1992 duology version before the part 3 came out. It's like, well, that's only on VHS, man.
Yeah, I watched a really cool video on TikTok the other day. This guy, like, you know, he literally just gets like random people's recorded VHS tapes. He buys them and just like plays them to see what's going on. And he had that weird cut of Godfather where they put it all into one movie. And what's so cool is like they had like Talia Shire
Yeah.
before the movie starts, like explaining what you're about to watch. And they were like, whatever network came to Coppola and wanted to make this cut. So what Francis has done is done this. And it's like Talia Shire explaining it. It was really cool to watch.
Man, in terms of director's cuts and slight changes, imagine if they did that with Star Wars. Like, I get it, special editions, people have criticisms for it, but imagine the changes were that drastic, like Godfather.
Yeah.
And your favorite cut was only on a specific program
Yeah.
on TV type of shit. Oh, people would go fucking ballistic. Like, I feel like Godfather, because of the fact that it wasn't as big as Star Wars, there is that kind of cool moment where it's like, oh shit, like they had different cuts and you might have seen this one, you might have seen that one because of its universal appeal.
Yeah.
So
But you got to really dig to find some of those
Oh,
cuts.
fuck
Like,
yeah.
You got to go deep into the internet.
But Coppola's done director's cuts even for like The Outsiders and Rumblefish.
Mm-hmm.
I found that out recently. I was like, Rumblefish? What?
I didn't know he did Rumblefish, but I knew he did Outsiders.
Outsiders he did.
Yeah.
The Cotton Club, another obscure Coppola film a lot of people don't know. He's like, I did that one recently, he said. I was like, what?
I was bored.
Makes me wonder, like, in 5 years, if, you know, like, if he does a Megalopolis one.
That would be crazy.
That would be fucking insane, but I could totally see him do shit like that because he's done it with so many of his films over the years. So
Yeah.
that's another example. But
Let's get into Star Wars.
Of
'Cause the
course.
special editions of obviously probably the most famous special editions ever.
they spent so much fucking money on those, man. Like I think it was 5 million each film for the special editions of the original.
Each film.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
And ever since then, because I think even Disney has had to update theirs and stuff, they've added stupid things, though. It's the same shit like the special editions where they added an extra line for Greedo. It's like, well, like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Is it because you have to keep the rights or something? But anyways, yeah, the special editions back in 97 were like a big, big deal. They were like, oh, fuck, we're actually seeing the movies again in theaters with updated effects?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And definitely made a ton of money at the time.
Yes.
Got people really excited for the, Phantom Menace was coming out
Right.
after.
It's perfect timing.
It was very smart on their
Yeah.
part. Like, introduce us to like a new generation that might have not been a kid in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the new batch of kids for the 90s and then feed them a new trilogy.
Yeah, because it was hard still. It was hard to have home video back in the day. You know, it's not like now where, you don't really have to do it. You could just watch it all on streaming. But back then, it's like, no, you got to see these in the fucking theaters, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when they first came out, I heard positive reviews back in 97 because it's Star Wars. But then people looked at it more and they're like, wait a minute, like, did we really need the Jabba scene
Oh man,
in A New Hope?
yeah.
Did we really need like this scene? Did we really need that scene? It's like
The one,
no.
the dancing one in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, it's the worst.
Is the worst. Like,
so fucking bad.
what the fuck was George Lucas? It's so out of place.
I hate the original too, but the newer version is even worse than that. I
Oh,
just wish he
man.
just cut it out entirely.
It's so out of place.
Yeah.
It makes no even the CGI is just too much. It's like
bad.
it's Phantom Menace CGI.
It's bad, yeah.
Right?
I would say so.
So it's like, why do that to this movie? Especially like you're about to make Phantom Menace. You're about to do all this. It wasn't about like showing off that we could do this tech that's gonna make this old movie better. It was like, I don't know. It was like a weird flex.
Yeah, he added shots of Boba Fett being a womanizer, and I rolled my fucking eyes. I was
Yeah.
like, that's not. Like, you can tell the new shots of Boba Fett because it was like back when people thought, oh, who's this Boba Fett guy? And now it's like, oh, he's the coolest guy ever. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's lame. It's so lame. But there are some good parts of special, but for the most part, it's like
The good parts are the parts you don't notice.
exactly.
The effects are better.
Yeah.
It's the parts you don't notice. When they try to change narrative or add or like go too flashy, it just stands out. It's really
Yeah.
it's not a great.
I never had issues with pacing though. I feel like the pacing because I think they're all the same runtime.
Yeah, the pacing always feels.
Feels fine. It's the moments where it's just like, oh wait, they added something here.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's like noticeable. It like sticks out like a fucking sore thumb, and it's like, okay, let's just get through this scene. Like whatever.
Another big problem I have with it is that we can't watch the original versions.
No, especially now that Disney owns the rights. I don't think they will.
You don't think they ever will? Like, you don't think there's an anniversary date big enough or something? Like, it would make money.
People are just watching the fucking Disney Plus shit, man. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't know if it's just like a niche fan base that wants this or not, because Disney's going to look at profit. They're going to always look at profit with these sorts of things. So if it does happen, I doubt it's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Yeah. I want it, man.
Yeah,
I want
same.
the fucking weird looking Palpatine. I want it. I want to see him.
They have the reels, they have the originals. It's just that I don't know. It's gonna be a lot of money to restore that shit, man. It's hard. It's hard. It's like 4K restorations cost a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe you're right, and maybe it's like a a loud minority that really wants to see this.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I just think it could work. I think someday it will come out. I think so.
I think so too. I don't know when. I doubt it's going to be anytime soon. But
No, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but
Yeah.
I think someday it will make sense, and I'm excited to see it.
yeah. Another thing too about a lot of these director's cuts and a lot of restoring is a prominent figure within this culture is Scorsese. He's been an advocate for restoring films that are somewhat destroyed, really hard to salvage, but he uses his money as well as I think he has a specific company for this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where he restores a lot of these films. An example of this would be Once Upon a Time in America, the Sergio Leone film. It was his last directed film. Originally, it was supposed to be this 5-hour epic. He's like, this is my epic. This is my magnum opus. I'm going to do everything with it. And the studio was like, cool. You can release that version in Europe, but you got to cut 2 hours out of that. And he's like, fine. It'll be like almost 3 hours long. And they're like, cool. Also, the US version, could you cut another hour out? And he's like, no. And then the studio did and changed the narrative. So instead of the time jumps of that film, it's all linear.
Yeah.
Which makes zero sense when you watch the fucking movie. Only recently, I believe it was 2012, I have the Blu-ray for it, where they were able to restore as much as they could. I think it was 4.5 hours long.
Wow.
That's it. And you can tell because the scenes that they were able to restore, it was still a bit
A bit grainy and stuff.
but still,
But still, it's cool that you can see it.
better
And
than nothing.
yeah, it's better than what happened to fucking Orson Welles, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Scorsese was a prominent figure in that. De Niro talks about it in the commentary where it's like, yeah, like we didn't think we'd see any of these scenes.
I'd
again.
love to see the commentary for that. That's on the Blu-ray?
Yeah. He also talks about it in an interview about the film, but the fact that it was Leone's last film and we can't see a full original yet is tragic. But what we have so far is still a beautifully made film.
That's a good one, yeah.
So again, like it's hard because a movie like that does not have a Star Wars budget.
Yeah.
We are not getting a Sergio Leone special edition anytime soon, and unfortunately, a lot of films suffer from that because unless you're a Coppola, unless you're unless you're Zack Snyder, like the power that he got with Justice League,
It's very interesting, yeah.
holy fuck! I mean, I've gone on about how the Snyder cut is. It's night and day.
Yeah.
I've never seen such a drastic change. Because when you look at a lot of films that have been tampered with, you could still sense like, oh, I can sense a film that was better in here.
Yeah.
The theatrical of Justice League has none of that. I could not believe it. It was literally night and day. I'm trying to think of other examples, but it's the fact that the studio literally saturated the film, literally got a different director to reshoot scenes just to make it more comedic. That makes it scary.
Yeah.
It's scary because your name is now on it, even though you don't know what the fuck any of this is.
That's weird.
That
was a feel-good story. That's like a director's cut that didn't feel sleazy or like a money
Yes.
grab. That was like the power of the people. Like, I remember fucking Release the Snyder Cut.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How big that was.
Yeah.
And the fact that it actually happened.
I think Warner Brothers was desperate because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like from a financial, again, this is all financial for them. So they're looking at it and they're like, okay, COVID's happening. We're losing millions of dollars every day. What can we make?
It's true. If the pandemic doesn't happen, I don't think it comes out.
No fucking way.
I don't care how many. I don't care how many, fucking-
hashtags.
How many nerds are writing hashtags on Twitter? That shit's not coming
No,
out.
it is fucking not. Because I know the Snyder fans. I am one of them. His box office returns aren't as big as Nolan or Tarantino. So let's be fucking real, guys.
Yeah.
But the fact that it did get made, and Snyder didn't get paid to do it. He did it for free because he wanted to. And they gave him $70 million extra. That will never fucking happen ever again. Regardless of, I'm talking the superhero genre. We're never going to get a director being like, oh, can I make my Spider-Man cut for $70 million? They're going to be like, no, fuck off. We already made $1 billion.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. So, again, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
And then Snyder just like immediately jumped the shark and just like every fucking one of my movies is gonna have a director's
He fucking
cut.
shit the bed with Rebel Moon. I'm not going to see the director's cut.
And I'm announcing it before the fucking real one comes out that there'll be another cut. It's like, what's the point of seeing this one then?
Like, Watchmen, it makes sense because of how big that fucking story was.
Yeah.
So he had his 3.5 hour cut, but then Warner Bros. Was like, no, we gotta cut it out. It's like, well, can I release it on Blu-ray? And they're like, yeah, sure, no one's gonna see it. And then we did, and it was good. But
Rebel Moon, I know for a fact, cut it 100 different fucking ways.
No fucking way.
There's no saving that movie.
No fucking way.
There's no saving it.
Maybe if I get drunk, I'll give it a shot. I get back to the booze, Nathan. That's how I do it.
You got
it. But another example of this recently was Stallone with Rocky IV. I did not expect him to do that.
Didn't expect it. I really like this one. I saw the cut. Look, the cut is not that fucking different.
I didn't think it would be. I think he just cut out the goofy shit like the robot, right?
He cut out some of the goofy shit. He changed some of the takes so the deliveries are a little bit different.
Okay.
It's paced a little bit better, but it's very similar. The big standout of it is the YouTube documentary about making it.
Okay.
If you've seen Rocky IV, I recommend watching the YouTube documentary about this director's cut more than I recommend seeing the director's cut.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful documentary of Stallone just coming in, breaking down what his mindset was at the time of making this film, how it's changed. He's very honest about what he doesn't like, the mistakes he feels he's made. He shows what he cringes at, what he still loves to this day.
Yeah.
It is a very cool documentary. If you're a fan of the Rocky franchise, it's a must watch. It's on YouTube for free.
Yeah, I think I've seen parts of it where he's like in the editing room and he's like, this is the cut that I wanted instead. And I was just like looking at it, I was like, wow. Is the ADR really noticeably different?
Not too much. Not too much.
Because the punches don't sound the same.
Yeah.
I'm very critical of that because when you go, like Rocky 3 and 4, the punches, they sound like gunshots, man. That's why I love them. But then I saw the clip of it.
Yeah, I mean, he does change it a bit. To me, it wasn't too noticeable, but you are right. Like, those gunshot punches are classic.
I love them.
But yeah, that was another product of the pandemic.
Yeah, it was.
He had nothing to fucking do. He couldn't shoot a movie. So he's like, okay, me and this one editor are going to come into this room every day and watch all this, like, all these other takes, all this, like, extra footage that we had and make something. And it works. It's cool.
You know what cut I actually wanted to see within the Rocky franchise? Rocky 5. That would have been a really good one because the cuts that I saw from it, I was like, damn, I really would have wanted to see that. Like, it's more of Stallone's emotional moments with Adrian, and you get to see more of that. I'm like, where was that in the film? Rocky 5's like the worst one in the franchise. It could have been better, but they cut it all out. There was like an alternate ending where like Stallone just dies.
What the fuck?
Part of me wants to see that though, just to see how poorly done it was.
Yeah.
They have not released it, but
you know it was so bad.
It's bad. It's gotta be bad, man. I just want to see like deleted scenes like that.
Man, you even put me on to some really cool deleted scenes in Rocky Balboa.
Oh, those scenes are emotional as fuck, man.
There's no cut where those are in, is there?
Nope.
That would be very nice to watch.
Yeah.
Because that movie already has this emotion, and what you had showed me is that they cut out some of the most emotional parts of it.
Yeah. That film, the older you get, man, the more emotional it is because you realize, fuck, man. it's tough. It might be my favorite Rocky sequel.
Yeah, that movie hits.
It hits.
It's really good.
But there's so many director's cuts. Like, even Peter Jackson has done director's cuts, man, which I like how he words them in his Lord of the Rings one because he did a 4K restoration. He was like, we didn't alter anything, but we updated the CGI, and it's like then you altered it.
It's different.
He does that because he knows how much George Lucas got shit on for the prequels. So he's like, we didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, you just did. You changed the color correction to make it seem like it looked more like the Hobbit films, which I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like how he changed the color because it feels muted in comparison to the Blu-ray releases of Lord of the Rings. And some of the effects, I get it. Like if the Hobbit's feet, because they're noticeably fake, he updated it digitally. That's fine.
Like,
I don't give a shit.
That stuff makes sense. But again, that's the stuff that the casual person does not notice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with that. It's more like drastic changes like the color.
Yeah.
The color of the movie is pretty fucking evident, and you lose that color.
With movies like that, that's like full of style. When you change the style even slightly.
Yes.
by changing the color, you're fucking it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, also Peter Jackson and James Cameron, they're very big advocates for the AI restoration technology, which I am not.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. I think you should have a human looking at the frame and fixing little parts. That's
Whenever
the
you're
art.
like smoothing out people's faces and shit, like why the fuck are we doing that? You're gonna give me a different cut of this movie? I don't need to see a smoother face.
Snapchat filter,
You know, I don't need to see that shit.
Yeah, I fully agree.
One I want to talk about, since because we're kind of low on time,
Right,
is
right.
Apocalypse Now. We didn't talk about that one for Coppola.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's one of the most famous Apocalypse
is.
Now redux, right? Mm-hmm. But it's. I want to talk about it. You've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've
I
seen
haven't
both versions.
I saw the original. People talk about the redux being really good. Gives a little bit more context to like Marlon Brando. I think gives some more Marlon Brando scenes. But it's 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Is it warranted, or is it just like Coppola like adding every scene that he fucking filmed? What do you think?
I don't think it's every scene that Coppola filmed, because if it was, it'd be 5 hours long.
I just think the pacing of the original Apocalypse Now is so good.
Yeah.
And you know you go into this Vietnam and into this, you know, it becomes real to surreal so well that like adding stuff in the middle, like I know about like the plantation scene that's added and stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't it break up the pacing?
Here's the thing. I saw the Redux before the original.
Oh.
So when I saw the original, I was like, wow, this is paced much faster than I thought. I like both of them equally. I can understand somebody who would prefer the original over the Redux. The Redux is essentially like if you want to see more.
Yeah.
Because it is a beautiful film to look at, and there
100%.
are a lot of great performances. I don't think the plantation scenes are bad.
Yeah.
I think they're really well done, but if you don't have 3.5 hours to spare, I wouldn't, go crazy for it.
So you're saying either cut. Either
cut's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. It's not like a special edition Lucas thing. It's not like it's not that drastic. I would highly recommend both, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh, you want to finish off just listing off your top director's cuts list?
Sure. I mean, I didn't talk about King Kong, but King Kong's a great one. I love the extra scenes that they added with King Kong in the skating rink. That little moments like that show.
I'd like to see that director's cut. I haven't seen it.
It's very good. I mean, people complain about the fucking runtime of a King Kong film, but it's like, I don't know. I liked it. I like that version more than Kong Skull Island. It's more sophisticated, I guess you could say. Apocalypse Now, director's cut. Blade Runner, the final cut. That's the only cut that you should be watching.
Not the director's cut.
Exactly. Zack Snyder's Justice League. That is the only Justice League film that you should be fucking seeing as well. And Once Upon a Time in America. Watch the 4.5 hour one. I think that's, if you want the closest to the original of what the director wanted, that's probably your best
That's a
case
cool
scenario.
story, and it's Sergio Leone's final. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. Hell yeah.
All right, we'll finish it off there. Let us know if we missed any good director's cuts. I mean, there's so many out there. It's such a common thing now, especially with Blu-ray releases and everything.
Yeah.
So let us know a good director's cut that we should check out in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe to your boys. Helps us out a ton. And most importantly, take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.